The silence in space broke with a flash of light that could be seen from Mars. Ships appeared one after another until the darkness around Earth's solar system glowed with alien hulls. They were beautiful and terrible, living vessels that pulsed with blue and green light, their surfaces moving like breathing skin. Sarah Chen stood in the underground command center, watching the screens that showed more ships arriving every minute. As president of the United Earth Alliance, she had seen many crisis reports. This was different. This was the moment every human leader had feared and prepared for since the first radio signals from space. The aliens had finally come. "Ma'am, we're getting a transmission," reported Lieutenant Hayes, her hands shaking as she worked the controls. "It's coming through every satellite, every radio, every device capable of receiving signals." "Put it through," Chen said, her voice steady. The main screen flickered, then showed a being that looked like it was made of living crystal. Its body caught light and threw it back in patterns that hurt to look at directly. When it spoke, the voice came through perfect but cold, like winter wind through glass. "I am Ambassador Zixithera of the Galactic Council," the creature said. "I represent 12 civilizations that have brought order and peace to this galaxy for over 10,000 years." Chen watched without moving, her face showing nothing. "Your species has been observed and studied for the past 50 years, the ambassador continued. "The Council has reached a decision about humanity. You are dangerous. You fight constantly, even among yourselves. You create weapons instead of art. You spread across worlds like a disease, changing everything you touch." Around the command center, military officers and world leaders listened in growing anger. General Morrison's face was red. Prime Minister Jiang's hands were clenched into fists. But Chen remained perfectly still, perfectly calm. "The Council has classified humanity as a Category 5 existential threat," Zixithera announced. "This is the highest danger level in our system. Only 2 other species in galactic history have received this classification. Both were eliminated for the safety of all civilized life." Chen felt something cold settle in her stomach, but her expression never changed. "However, the Council is merciful. We offer you one chance to avoid the fate of those previous threats. You have 72 Earth hours to surrender completely and unconditionally. You will dismantle all military forces. You will submit to Council oversight of your government, your technology, and your expansion. You will accept protective custody status, which means you will be relocated to designated worlds where you can live under proper supervision." The ambassador's crystalline features shifted into what might have been satisfaction. "Your aggressive nature will be studied and, in time, corrected through proper guidance. Your children will learn better ways. In a few generations, humanity will take its place as productive members of galactic society." Chen finally spoke. "And if we refuse? Then you will be removed," Zixithera said simply. "We have brought 50,000 warships. Our technology is thousands of years ahead of yours. Resistance would be brief and pointless." The transmission showed flashes of the alien fleet, ships the size of cities, weapons that could crack planets, shields that had never been broken. The message was clear: surrender or die. "You have 72 hours, the ambassador repeated. "Use them wisely." The screen went dark. The command center erupted in voices. Generals shouted about impossible odds. Politicians demanded to know about defense plans that didn't exist. Scientists calculated the energy signatures of alien weapons that could glass continents. Through it all, Chen stood quietly, her eyes fixed on the dark screen. Then, slowly, she smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was not the smile of someone accepting defeat or trying to calm fears. It was the cold, sharp smile of someone who had just been given exactly what they had been waiting for. "Ma'am?" General Morrison approached carefully. "Your orders?" Chen turned to her aide, a young man named David who had worked with her for 5 years. "David, please activate Protocol 7. David's eyes widened. "Ma'am, are you certain once we—" "Do it now," Chen said, still smiling that cold smile. David's hands flew over his tablet. Deep beneath facilities around the world, systems that had waited in silence for decades began to wake up. Signals went out to places that weren't supposed to exist, to people who weren't supposed to be there. to weapons that weren't supposed to work. General Morrison, Chen continued, please ask Admiral Torres to join us. Also, Dr. Vasquez from the Research Division and Director Harrison from Intelligence. Tell them it's time. Time for what? Asked Prime Minister Zheng. Chen's smile grew wider. Time to show our guests what happens when they mistake humanity's restraint for weakness. High above, the alien fleet settled into formation around Earth, 50,000 ships, each one capable of destroying anything humans had ever built. Ambassador Zixathara felt satisfied with the day's work. Another primitive species brought to heel. Another threat neutralized before it could spread. In 72 hours, humanity would surrender. They always did when faced with overwhelming force. The Council's psychologists had studied human behavior patterns. When cornered, humans became desperate and made mistakes. They would try some futile gesture of defiance, then collapse when they realized how hopeless their situation was. The ambassador settled into its crystalline chair and began composing the victory report that would be sent to the council chambers. Another successful pacification, another world brought into the safety of council protection. It never occurred to Zixathara that human desperation might look different than expected. In the command center, Chen finished reading reports that had been classified above every security level that officially existed. Reports about projects that had been running for 30 years. Reports about capabilities that no one was supposed to know about. Reports about the real reason Protocol 7 existed. Ma'am, David said quietly, all stations report ready. The network is online. Chen nodded. Good. When Admiral Torres arrives, we'll begin the briefing. I think it's time our new neighbors learned who they're really dealing with. She looked up at the screens showing the alien fleet. 50,000 ships. It was impressive. The aliens had probably spent centuries building that fleet, recruiting those crews, developing those weapons. Chen wondered if they would be enough. Actually, she didn't wonder at all. She knew they wouldn't be. Protocol 7 had been designed for this exact moment. Humanity had been preparing for this day since they first looked at the stars and realized they might not be alone. Every conflict, every war, every desperate struggle for survival had taught them lessons. Every failure had shown them how to be better. Now someone was threatening to take away everything humans had built, everything they had earned through blood and sacrifice and endless determination. Chen's smile grew colder. The aliens thought they were dealing with primitives. They were about to learn the difference between primitive and patient. 72 hours, Chen said to the empty air. They think they're being generous. She turned to her staff. Let's show them what we can do in 12. Admiral Marcus Torres arrived at the command center 3 hours after the alien ultimatum. He was a tall man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his days as a starship engineer. Behind him walked Dr. Elena Vasquez, a small woman with bright eyes who had spent 20 years making impossible things possible. Director James Harrison came last, a quiet man who knew secrets that could topple governments. President Chen waited for them in the briefing room that didn't officially exist. 3 levels below the official command center, the walls were lined with screens showing data streams that came from places no one was supposed to know about. Sit down, Chen said. We have work to do. Admiral Torres took his seat, his face serious. Ma'am, I've seen the reports on the alien fleet. 50,000 ships, each one more advanced than anything we have. Our best estimates say we could maybe take out 100 of them before. Admiral, Chen interrupted. How long have you known about Protocol 7? Torres paused. Since I was promoted to Fleet Admiral 5 years ago, but the files I saw were heavily classified. I know it exists, but not what it actually is. Chen nodded. Dr. Vasquez, what did your briefing materials tell you? The scientist leaned forward. That Protocol 7 involved research projects that were considered too sensitive for normal oversight. I assumed it was about weapons development, but my clearance level never gave me details. Director Harrison? The intelligence chief smiled slightly. I helped design parts of Protocol 7, but even I don't know the full scope. Each person only knew what they needed to know. Chen stood and walked to the main screen. With a few touches, she brought up a star map that showed not just Earth's solar system, but a sphere of space reaching out 50 light-years in every direction. Protocol 7, she said. is what happens when humanity spends 30 years preparing for this exact moment. The map changed, showing red dots scattered throughout the star field. There were dozens of them, then hundreds, then thousands. Every red dot represents a human installation that doesn't officially exist, Chen explained. Mining stations that mine more than minerals. Research outposts that research more than science. Trading posts that trade in more than goods. Admiral Torres stared at the map. Those are in Council space. Some of them are deep in Council territory. Yes, Chen said. 30 years ago, when we first detected alien signals, we realized that first contact might not be friendly. So we prepared. While we were building our official colonies and trade routes, we were also building something else. Dr. Vasquez's voice was barely a whisper. A shadow fleet, Chen nodded. Every civilian ship that left Earth carried more than colonists or cargo. Every peaceful mission carried military engineers and intelligence operatives. Every scientific expedition was also a reconnaissance mission. The screen changed again, showing technical specifications that made Admiral Torres's eyes widen. The mining platform at Kepler 442, Chen continued, isn't just extracting rare metals. It's a weapons platform with enough firepower to level a continent. The research station near the Veil Nebula isn't studying stellar formation. It's a command center with quantum communications that can coordinate strikes across half the galaxy. Director Harrison spoke up. And the trade missions? Chen's cold smile returned. Director, would you like to tell them about our friends in Council space? Harrison stood and activated another display. For 25 years, we've been sending peaceful traders, diplomats, and researchers into alien territory. They've been mapping defense networks, studying alien technology, and placing assets in strategic positions. The new display showed Council worlds with human populations. Thousands of humans living and working throughout the galaxy, all of them carrying false identities and secret missions. The human archaeological team studying ruins on Altair 7, Harrison continued. They're actually military engineers who've been mapping the planet's defense grid. The diplomatic mission on Proxima Station. Intelligence operatives who've been copying alien technology for decades. Admiral Torres was staring at the displays like they showed magic. How is this possible? The logistics alone. Admiral, Dr. Vasquez said. May I show you what we've been doing with that alien technology? She activated her own set of screens, showing designs that looked like they belonged in science fiction movies. We've been studying captured alien tech for 30 years, she explained. Every piece of debris from crashed probes, every component from failed alien missions, every signal we've intercepted. We've reverse-engineered it, improved it, and combined it with our own innovations. The screen showed hybrid technologies that used alien principles but human engineering. Weapons that could phase through matter, shields that bent space around them, engines that moved ships by manipulating gravity. The aliens think they're dealing with a primitive species that just discovered faster-than-light travel, Dr. Vasquez said. They don't know we've been using their own technology against them for decades. Chen returned to the star map. Every human installation you see here is armed with hybrid technology. Every human agent in Council space has access to weapons and equipment the aliens have never seen before. Every ship in our shadow fleet is more advanced than anything they think we're capable of building. Admiral Torres was shaking his head slowly. But why keep it secret? Why let them think we're primitive? Because, Chen said, we wanted to see what kind of neighbors they would be. If they had come in peace, offering trade and friendship, we would have revealed our true capabilities gradually. We would have become partners. Her expression hardened. Instead, they came with ultimatums and threats. They want to put us in cages and correct our nature. They see our independence as a disease to be cured. Director Harrison brought up another display. We know the location of every Council military base, every shipyard, every command center. Our agents have been placing monitoring devices and strategic assets for decades. If necessary, we can disable their entire military infrastructure in a coordinated strike. But, Chen added, we don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be left alone to grow and explore in our own way. So we're going to give them one chance to back down peacefully. Dr. Vasquez looked at the alien fleet on the monitors. And if they don't back down? Chen's smile turned arctic. Then they'll learn why Earth produced apex predators, and why evolution made us very, very good at surviving. Admiral Torres studied the displays showing humanity's hidden capabilities. Ma'am, with respect, this is beyond anything I imagined possible. How did you coordinate all this without anyone knowing? Admiral, did you think you were the only one who didn't know the full picture? Every person involved in Protocol 7 only knew their piece. The mining engineers thought they were building defensive platforms. The diplomats thought they were gathering intelligence. The researchers thought they were studying alien technology for peaceful purposes. Chen gestured to the three people in the room. Until today, no one except me knew how all the pieces fit together. Now you do. Because in 68 hours, we're going to show the Galactic Council what happens when they threaten humanity. She looked at each of them in turn. Admiral Torres, you'll coordinate with our Shadow Fleet commanders. Dr. Vasquez, you'll oversee the activation of our hybrid weapon systems. Director Harrison, you'll signal our agents to begin final preparations. What about the alien fleet? Torres asked. Chen's smile was now completely without warmth. They're expecting us to spend 72 hours preparing our surrender. Instead, we're going to spend the next few hours teaching them the most important lesson in human history, which is that there's a difference between being peaceful and being harmless. Humanity has been peaceful by choice, not because we lack the ability to be otherwise. She turned back to the star map. With its thousands of red dots representing humanity's hidden strength, they wanted to know if we're dangerous. We're about to give them a very clear answer. 12 hours before the deadline, Ambassador Zixithara expected to receive humanity's surrender, the crystalline being settled into its command chamber aboard the flagship, surrounded by other council representatives who had come to witness another successful pacification. Instead, every communication device in the alien fleet activated at once. President Chen's face appeared on screens throughout the council ships. Her expression was calm, almost friendly, but her eyes held the cold calculation of someone who had just finished planning a war. Ambassador Zixithara, she began. Thank you for your generous offer. We've spent the last 12 hours considering your terms. The ambassador leaned forward in satisfaction. Humans were known for their pride, but when faced with impossible odds, even the most stubborn species eventually saw reason. However, Chen continued, I'm afraid we must decline. Confusion rippled through the council fleet. Species rarely refuse surrender when facing such overwhelming force. Chen's image was being broadcast not just to the alien fleet, but to every inhabited system in the galaxy through communication networks that shouldn't have been accessible to primitive humans. You see, Ambassador, you've made a fundamental error in your assessment of humanity. You observed our conflicts and assumed we were chaotic and weak. You watched us struggle and fight and thought we were primitive. But you missed the most important thing about human nature. The display behind Chen shifted to show a star map of council territory. Red dots began appearing across the map. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. We don't fight because we're weak, Chen said. We fight because it makes us stronger. Every conflict teaches us new lessons. Every struggle shows us how to be better. Every war prepares us for the next challenge. Ambassador Zixithara stared at the map with growing alarm. The red dots were appearing in systems throughout council space. Systems that were supposed to be secure, protected, impossible for primitive humans to reach. While you've been building your perfect, peaceful civilization, Chen continued, we've been preparing for the day someone would try to take our freedom away. Did you really think we'd spend 50 years knowing about alien life and not prepare for contact? The red dots on the map began flashing and data streams appeared next to each one. Council military commanders throughout the fleet frantically tried to verify what they were seeing. Mining platform Kepler 442, Chen read from her notes. Not actually a mining platform. It's a weapon system with enough firepower to sterilize a planet. Research Station Vale 7, not studying nebula formation. It's a strategic command center with quantum communications. Trading Post New Harmony, not just processing rare metals. It's a military depot with enough supplies to support a full-scale war. The council bridge crew was in chaos. Officers shouted reports and confirmations. Every red dot on the map was real. Every human installation was exactly where Chen claimed it was. You thought you were observing a young species taking its first steps into space, Chen said. You were actually watching humanity's greatest magic trick, hiding in plain sight. New displays appeared showing human agents throughout council space. The friendly human traders who had been welcomed on dozens of worlds. The diplomatic attachés who had toured council facilities, the researchers who had studied alien technology and culture. Dr. Sarah Kim, Chen announced, who spent 3 years studying ancient artifacts on Rigel Prime. She's actually Major Kim, military intelligence, and she's been mapping your planetary defense network. Ambassador John Martinez, who negotiated trade agreements with the Centauri Coalition. He's Colonel Martinez, Special Operations, and he's been identifying strategic vulnerabilities in your shipping lanes. Ambassador Zixthera felt something it had never experienced before. Genuine fear. Not fear of death, but fear of having been completely outmaneuvered by a species it had dismissed as primitive. For 30 years, Chen continued, we've been learning about your civilizations, your technology, your military capabilities. You thought you were educating primitives. You were actually training your replacements. The displays shifted to show hybrid technologies, weapons that combined alien principles with human engineering, shields that used council science but human innovation, ships that moved through space using gravity manipulation that no council species had achieved. You asked if humanity is dangerous, Chen said, and for the first time, her friendly tone took on an edge of steel. You classified us as a Category 5 existential threat. Let me tell you how right you are. Space around the council fleet suddenly filled with ships, not the few hundred vessels the aliens expected, but thousands of human ships that had been completely invisible until this moment. Ships that used technology the council had never encountered, appearing from positions that should have been impossible to hide in. Stealth systems based on your own cloaking technology, but improved, Chen explained calmly as council sensors registered ship after ship materializing around them. We've been studying your science for decades. Did you think we wouldn't find ways to make it better? Ambassador Zixthera tried to speak, tried to issue orders, but found that its ship's communication systems were no longer responding. Oh, that's another thing, Chen said, as if she could see the ambassador's confusion. Your ships are currently experiencing what we call a technological disagreement. All those friendly human traders who visited your worlds, they left behind some gifts. Throughout the council fleet, ships began losing power. Not catastrophic failures, but precise surgical shutdowns of specific systems. Weapons went offline. Shields flickered and died. Engines stopped responding to commands. Nanoscale devices. Dr. Vasquez's voice joined the broadcast. Introduced into your ship's systems through normal trade interactions. They've been dormant for years, waiting for activation. Now they're causing selective malfunctions in anything we consider threatening. Admiral Torres appeared on screen next to Chen. 50,000 warships, he said admiringly. That's quite a fleet. It would be very dangerous if it could actually fight back. Across council space, similar scenarios were playing out. Military bases found their defense systems offline. Shipyards discovered their construction facilities disabled. Command centers lost contact with their fleets, all of it happening simultaneously. All of it bloodless but complete. We don't want to rule your civilizations, Chen said, her voice returning to its earlier calm tone. We don't want to conquer your worlds or impose our values on your people. We just want to be left alone to grow and explore in our own way. She leaned forward slightly, and her smile grew cold again. But if you insist on treating us as a threat that needs to be contained, then we'll show you what a real threat looks like. If you want to see humanity's true nature, we'll give you a demonstration you'll never forget. The broadcast shifted to show human installations throughout the galaxy, powering up weapon systems that made council technology look primitive, energy readings that violated known physics, defensive capabilities that could protect entire star systems, strike capabilities that could reach across galactic distances. 72 hours, you said, Chen continued. We're revising that timeline. You now have 12 hours to withdraw your fleet from our solar system, remove all council oversight from human space, and guarantee our independence. Ambassador Zixthera finally found its voice. You cannot possibly think that threatening the council will— Ambassador, Chen interrupted, we're not threatening you. We're educating you. For 30 years, you've been wondering if humanity poses a danger to galactic peace. We've just given you the answer. She stood up, her image becoming more imposing on screens throughout the alien fleet. The question now is whether you can live with dangerous neighbors who just want to be left alone, or if you're going to force us to prove exactly how dangerous we can be. The transmission ended, leaving the council fleet floating helplessly in space, surrounded by human ships that had appeared as if by magic and disabled 50,000 warships without firing a single shot. In the silence that followed, Ambassador Zixthera realized that humanity had just rewritten the rules of galactic politics. and there was absolutely nothing the Council could do about it. The Council fleet drifted in space like dead metal, their proud warships reduced to expensive, debris floating in the darkness around Earth. Emergency. Lighting flickered on alien bridges as backup systems struggled to compensate for the systematic failure of every major ship function. Ambassador Zixathera stood in the dim glow of its crystalline command chamber, trying to understand what had just happened. Around it, alien officers worked frantically to restore communications, weapons, engines, anything that would give them back control of their own ships. Nothing worked. Dr. Elena Vasquez's voice came through every speaker in the fleet, calm and educational, like a professor addressing students. I imagine you're wondering how we managed to disable 50,000 ships simultaneously, she began. The answer is simpler than you might think. For 30 years you've been teaching us about your technology. You just didn't realize you were doing it. Emergency screens throughout the Council fleet flickered to life, showing technical diagrams that made alien engineers gasp in recognition and horror. Every trade negotiation, every cultural exchange, every peaceful interaction with humanity involved the transfer of technology and knowledge. You thought you were helping primitive beings understand basic science. You were actually giving us detailed blueprints of your most advanced systems. The diagrams showed Council ship designs broken down into component parts, with human modifications highlighted in red. Your quantum drives, for instance, Dr. Vasquez continued. Elegant technology, but you designed them for efficiency, not security. It was quite easy to introduce microscopic alterations that would allow us to selectively interfere with their operation. Admiral Torres joined the broadcast, his voice carrying the satisfaction of an engineer who had solved an impossible puzzle. Your shield generators use harmonic resonance principles. Beautiful engineering. But once we understood the frequency patterns, it became simple to create disruption fields that could neutralize them without causing permanent damage. Throughout the disabled fleet, alien commanders realized the true scope of their situation. Every system they had trusted, every technology they had relied on for millennia, had been quietly compromised by the humans they thought they were protecting. The nanoscale devices were introduced through normal trade interactions, Dr. Vasquez explained. Your people welcomed human traders, researchers, and diplomats. You gave them tours of your facilities, allowed them to examine your equipment, even invited them to participate in joint research projects. The broadcast shifted to show surveillance footage from dozens of Council worlds. Human traders shaking hands with alien merchants, human scientists working alongside alien researchers, human diplomats touring alien military installations. Every handshake was an opportunity. Director Harrison's voice joined the explanation. Every shared meal, every cultural exchange, every moment of cooperation. Our people were trained to introduce our monitoring systems through simple physical contact. Ambassador Zixathera felt its crystalline structure vibrate with what humans might recognize as despair. The Council had been infiltrated not through invasion or deception, but through their own kindness and trust. The worst part, President Chen's voice returned to the broadcast, is that we gave you every opportunity to approach this differently. If you had come offering friendship instead of ultimatums, none of this would have been necessary. New displays showed the true scope of humanity's hidden capabilities, not just the installations and agents throughout Council space, but the revolutionary technologies they had developed. Your faster-than-light communication systems, Dr. Vasquez noted, operate on quantum entanglement principles. Impressive but limited to paired devices, we've learned to manipulate quantum fields directly, allowing us to communicate instantaneously with any point in the galaxy. The implications hit the Council commanders like physical blows. Humanity had surpassed their greatest technological achievements while pretending to be primitive. Your energy weapons use focused plasma streams, Admiral Torres added. Effective but predictable. We've developed systems that manipulate matter at the subatomic level. We can selectively affect specific materials while leaving others completely untouched. As if to demonstrate, several Council ships found that their hull armor began to shift and flow like liquid, while everything inside remained perfectly normal. The effect lasted only seconds, but the message was clear. Humanity could have destroyed the entire fleet without harming a single crew member. Your ships use artificial gravity generated by rotating sections or gravity plates. Dr. Vasquez continued her technical lecture. We've learned to manipulate gravitational fields directly. We can make your ships heavier or lighter, change their direction without touching them, or create gravity wells that would trap them in place. The Council fleet experienced a brief demonstration as their ships suddenly became twice as heavy, pressing crews against bulkheads before returning to normal. The point of this lesson, President Chen said, her voice cutting through the technical explanations, is not to humiliate you. It's to help you understand the situation you've created. The broadcast shifted to show human installations throughout the galaxy, not just the thousands they had revealed earlier, but tens of thousands more. Mining operations, research stations, trading posts, and facilities whose purposes remained mysteriously undefined. For 3 decades, we've been building a shadow civilization alongside our official colonies. We've been preparing for the possibility that our first contact with alien life would be hostile. You've just proven that our preparations were necessary. Director Harrison took over the presentation. Every human trader in Council space is actually a trained operative. Every diplomat is an intelligence agent. Every scientist is a military engineer. We've been mapping your civilizations, studying your weaknesses, and placing assets in strategic positions. The screen showed a web of connections spanning the galaxy. Thousands of human agents, millions of monitoring devices, strategic installations positioned to control key shipping lanes and communication hubs. We know the location of every Council military base, Harrison continued. Every shipyard, every weapon depot, every command center. We know your fleet compositions, your supply lines, your emergency protocols. We've been studying you the same way you've been studying us. Ambassador Zixathera finally found its voice. Why? It asked, the word carrying overtones of confusion and genuine pain. Why go to such lengths? Why hide your true nature? President Chen appeared on screen again, and for the first time her expression showed something other than cold calculation. She looked almost sad. Because we hoped we were wrong about you, she said simply. We hoped that when you finally revealed yourselves you would come in peace. We hoped you would see us as potential friends and partners, not threats to be eliminated or controlled. Her expression hardened again. Instead, you came with ultimatums and threats. You want to cage us, study us, gonna correct our nature like we're broken animals. You see our independence as a disease and our diversity as chaos that needs to be managed. The displays around the fleet showed the true extent of humanity's preparations. Weapon systems that could sterilize worlds, defensive networks that could protect entire star systems, strike capabilities that could reach any target in the galaxy. You classified us as a Category 5 existential threat, Chen continued. You were absolutely right. We are dangerous, not because we're violent or chaotic, but because we refuse to be controlled. Admiral Torres returned to the broadcast. Your fleet represents the most powerful military force in Council space. 50,000 ships, crews trained for generations, weapons that have never failed to bring primitive species to heel. He gestured to the dead ships floating around Earth. And we've just proven that we can neutralize all of it without firing a single shot. What does that tell you about our actual capabilities? The question hung in the silence of space, unanswered and terrifying. We don't want to conquer your civilizations, President Chen said finally. We don't want to rule the galaxy or impose our values on other species. We just want to be left alone to grow and explore in our own way. Her cold smile returned. But if you insist on treating us as enemies, then you'll discover exactly how dangerous your enemies can be. 12 hours passed in tense silence. The Council fleet remained powerless, drifting in Earth's solar system like monuments to miscalculation. Throughout their disabled ships, alien crews worked desperately to restore basic functions while their leaders grappled with a reality that had changed forever. Ambassador Zixathara stood in the dim emergency lighting of its flagship, surrounded by officers who looked to their crystalline leader for answers that didn't exist. Every assumption about humanity had been shattered. Every plan based on overwhelming technological superiority had become meaningless. The ambassador activated what remained of their communication systems and sent a message on all frequencies. President Chen, I request immediate negotiations. Chen's response came within moments, her image appearing on the Council flagship's main screen. She was sitting in what appeared to be a comfortable office, looking perfectly relaxed despite having just neutralized the most powerful fleet in galactic history. Ambassador, she said with professional courtesy, I'm listening. Zixathera struggled to find words that could somehow salvage the situation. Your Demonstration has been noted. The Council is prepared to discuss revised terms for coexistence. Chen's expression didn't change. Revised terms? Yes, perhaps the 72-hour deadline was hasty. The Council could offer humanity associate membership status, with limited autonomy in exchange for technological sharing agreements and joint oversight of your expansion. No. The single word cut through Zixthara's proposal like a blade. Chen's voice carried the finality of someone who had moved beyond negotiation. You came here with ultimatums, she continued. You offered us slavery disguised as protection. You threatened to eliminate our entire species because you found our independence inconvenient. There are no revised terms. Around the alien fleet, human ships remained in perfect formation, their advanced sensors tracking every movement, their weapon systems powered down but ready. The message was clear. Humanity held complete control of the situation. Then what do you want? Zixthara asked, its crystalline voice carrying overtones of desperation. Nothing from you, Chen replied. We want to be left alone. We want the Council to formally recognize human independence and sovereignty over all space we currently occupy. We want guarantees that no Council species will attempt to interfere with human expansion or governance. She leaned forward slightly. Most importantly, we want you to leave our solar system and never return with hostile intent. The ambassador processed this, trying to understand. You could demand anything. With your demonstrated capabilities, you could force the Council to surrender entire sectors, tribute payments, technological exchanges. We could, Chen agreed. But we won't. We're not conquerors, Ambassador. We never were. We just refuse to be conquered. Throughout Council space, similar conversations were taking place as human agents simultaneously revealed themselves on dozens of worlds. The friendly traders who had become trusted members of alien communities suddenly identified themselves as military operatives. The researchers who had worked alongside alien scientists revealed their true purposes. The diplomats who had negotiated cultural exchanges announced that their real mission had been intelligence gathering. But instead of violence or demands for surrender, the humans simply left. On Rigel Prime, Major Kim finished uploading the complete planetary defense network to human command, and then politely requested transport back to human space. On Centauri Station, Colonel Martinez handed over his detailed analysis of Council military capabilities and asked to be relieved of his diplomatic duties. Across the galaxy, thousands of human agents completed their missions and began the process of withdrawal. They had proven their point. Humanity could have crippled Council civilization at any moment over the past 30 years, but had chosen restraint. Ambassador Zixthara realized the true genius of humanity's strategy. They hadn't just demonstrated overwhelming capability, they had shown moral restraint that made them more terrifying than any conqueror. You could rule the galaxy, the ambassador said quietly. Chen's smile was tired but genuine. Why would we want to? Ruling other species would make us exactly what you accused us of being, a threat to galactic peace. We prefer to earn our place in the galaxy rather than take it by force. Emergency sessions convened throughout Council space as the implications became clear. Every Council race realized that their secure civilizations had been at humanity's mercy for decades. The humans hadn't hidden their capabilities out of fear. They had been waiting to see if peaceful coexistence was possible. On the Council homeworld of Zerion, emergency meetings ran for days as representatives tried to understand how they had so completely misjudged humanity. The species they had dismissed as primitive warmongers had demonstrated patience, strategic thinking, and technological innovation that surpassed anything in Council records. More disturbing was the realization that humanity had shown remarkable restraint. They could have eliminated the Council at any point in the past 30 years, but had chosen to wait and watch instead. Ma'am, Admiral Torres asked during a brief break in communications with the alien fleet. What happens if they refuse our terms? Chen's expression grew cold again. Then they learn the difference between what we've shown them and what we're actually capable of. She gestured to displays showing human installations throughout the galaxy. Everything we've revealed so far is just our defensive network. They haven't even seen our offensive capabilities yet. Dr. Vasquez joined the conversation. The technology demonstrations were carefully chosen to disable rather than destroy. If they force us to show our true weapons... She didn't finish the sentence. Director Harrison was more direct. We've been preparing for hostile first contact for 30 years. If the Council chooses to continue their aggressive stance, they'll discover that humans at war are very different from humans at peace. The response from Council space came in fragments over the following hours. Some Council races immediately announced recognition of human independence. Others demanded emergency meetings to reassess the situation. A few suggested that humanity's demonstration proved their point about humans being dangerous. The final decision came from the Council Assembly itself. Ambassador Zixthera delivered the message personally, its crystalline features reflecting the emergency lighting and patterns of reluctant acceptance. The Galactic Council formally recognizes the sovereignty of humanity over all space, currently under human control, it announced. We acknowledge your right to self-governance and commit to non-interference in human affairs. Chen nodded. Thank you, Ambassador. In return, humanity commits to peaceful coexistence with all Council species. We have no territorial ambitions beyond our current expansion zones, and no desire to interfere in Council governance. She stood up, and her expression showed something the aliens hadn't seen before, genuine warmth. We hope that in time, our species can build the kind of relationship that should have been possible from the beginning. Trade, cultural exchange, shared scientific research, all the things that make galactic civilization worth having. Ambassador Zixthera was quiet for a long moment. Your species is not what we expected. Chen's smile became almost amused. No, we're exactly what you should have expected. We're human. We fight when threatened, but we prefer to build when left in peace. We're dangerous when cornered, but we're generous when treated with respect. She looked directly at the alien ambassador. You just chose to see us as a threat instead of potential friends. That was your mistake, not ours. The Council fleet powered up their engines and began the long journey back to their home systems. As they departed, human ships escorted them to the edge of the solar system, not as guards or captors, but as a gesture of respect for former enemies who had chosen wisdom over pride. President Chen watched the alien ships disappear into hyperspace and then turned to her staff. Begin. Phase 2, she said. Admiral Torres looked confused. Phase 2? Chen's smile grew wider. Now that we've established our independence, it's time to show our new neighbors what humanity can really accomplish when we're working with people instead of against them. She gestured to displays showing human installations throughout the galaxy, installations that could now reveal their true purposes. The mining platforms will begin producing advanced materials for interstellar construction projects. The research stations will start developing technologies that could benefit every species in the galaxy. The trade posts will become centers for genuine cultural and economic exchange. Dr. Vasquez caught on first. You mean all those installations were designed to build something better, Chen finished. We prepared for war, but we planned for peace. Now let's see if we can build a galactic civilization worth having. As news of humanity's peaceful resolution spread throughout Council space, a new word began appearing in alien languages, a word that roughly translated to dangerous, friend. It described a species that could destroy you but chose to help you instead. It was the highest compliment the galaxy had ever given to any race, and humanity had earned it by doing the one thing no other species in galactic history had managed, proving that being strong enough to take whatever you wanted was meaningless, unless you were wise enough to build something better instead.